The great Hillary Clinton once said something along the lines of,
Going down.
women and children are the primary victims of war.
Oh, that's so crazy.
So between men and women, who's the primary victim of war?
Who is
Whoa. You've never asked this before. Oh my God. I have to think about
Something
it.
I'm
new and
seeing if
different
you've
for him.
changed after
No, I've actually, it's crazy because
she's doubled down.
no, it's because I've even asked like my dad who's 20 years military and things like that. And guess what he said?
Yeah, what did your dad say?
He said, women. I have a full text message. I can go get my phone and like show you the full text message of the reasonings. The reasoning is why it's the women that he believes is the victim.
Okay, why don't you just tell us what your argument is then, or his argument that you believe in?
It's the same things that I've been like repeating.
Okay,
It's
well,
like,
restate it because there's new people at the table, new viewers.
Yeah.
well, it's what you constitute as the main victims. For example, if you constitute a death as a victim, more of a victim versus like brutally like tortured or.
Raped.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Essay, let's
see.
just
I
say it.
can't.
We'll use
I
essay.
say it. I can't go into the details of it. Like
Okay, yeah,
what,
we
what
can
you
say essay,
constitute.
that's
It's
fine.
like the economy that you have to pick up versus especially the time periods wise of what like a lot of time period wise. There's a majority of men who had to go to war, for example. So women were not working at the time. So even with majority of men dying, for example, you have to still pick up the economy and things like that of the countries you're from, and they were gonna have to go and.
Would the women exclusively be picking up the economy of the country?
Majority of men are dying in wars, right? So, especially at the time period. So it's not understanding. Clearly, coughing. Sorry, you're not understanding. So they would have to go and pick up the jobs that like the men were like dying from, for example. And so like it hurts
So-
the
so
economy
the-
in a way. And then
So, just to be clear, you put bad economy over millions of men dead?
So again, it's what you constitute of what's the victim of war. Picking up a dead economy,
Okay,
Plus
let's
the
bring it. I'm going to bring
actual-
it. So war is on the macro level. Let me bring it to the micro level. If somebody gets shot dead in the street,
Yep.
are they a victim?
is there another versus
You
what?
could answer the question.
Versus what?
Versus nothing. I'm just asking you a question.
Yeah, of course, they're a victim.
Yeah.
So sad.
Would
Rest
the
in peace.
police? Now, if the police, wait, what?
I said so sad. Rest in peace.
Okay. So if the police are investigating a murder, for example,
Okay.
how do they categorize the person who was murdered as a what?
A victim.
A victim. Okay.
How do you think they categorize like R-worded victims and S8?
What? R-worded victim?
Or
Victims.
people who got
Still
S8,
victims.
S8 and R-worded and things like that.
Victims.
There you go. So same.
Yeah. Okay. How do you think they categorize somebody who's been, someone who owns a business and someone came in and shoplifted a $5 piece of merchandise?
Yes, victims as well. So like,
but
what,
so
what's
there's
the
scales,
argument?
right? But are there scales to it? So would you agree when it comes to victimization, somebody who's had their store shoplifted of a $5 piece of merchandise, that's less of a victim than
remember
somebody who's been
when
murdered?
your
Answer the
guest-
question.
Yes.
Answer the question.
Yes.
Okay. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Do you remember when your guest Andrew Wilson came on and it said, "Would you rather be R-worded or would you rather be?" What did he say? Do you remember?
Probably kill him.
Yeah, I remember him asking the question.
No, I asked that and he said.
Okay, cool.
So there's some people who would say
That what women have gone through in war
women
is
go
worse
through
than
a lot
men.
of times in war
Is worse than men.
is worse than men.
You'd have to
Yeah, but
define victim like
he also
casualty.
you got to
or-
be intellectually honest with this. He also said that he was being essayed by somebody of the same sex.
That's a crazy statement. Don't you understand
It would,
that?
but
I disagree with him. But I guess for him specifically, and he's also not here, so I'm not making.
would it,
No, we're talking
I'm
about
not
past
making
video.
his
We're
argument.
talking about
would
past
it not
video.
Yeah, but I'm
mostly
not
be
making-
men in
so-
war essaying you?
Yes, it will be. But he's saying if a woman, he's okay with a woman doing it.
Okay, so but. Okay, well, we can get into that if you keep seeming to want to bring up SA. So well, actually, hold on. Before we do that, I should have asked the whole panel this. Who's the primary victim of war, men or women?
I'll keep going, women. You know,
That's fine. Go ahead.
I don't know.
Well, if you had to pick,
Like war, like with the military? Like, are we talking about a specific type of war?
historically modern war. So, okay, you could look at World War I, World War II, Vietnam War, Iraq
Ukraine.
War, Ukraine War, etc. Who's the primary victim of war, men or women?
Well, men, I think, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say men.
Probably men.
Men.
I would say men.
Men.
You mean women?
Men.
Men.
Okay. I don't want to linger on this too long since oh, go ahead.
That is because what I value as like the ultimate punishment is I would rather get essayed and tortured than unalived. But I think that's where me and Kirby disagree, where she sees that as the ultimate punishment. So I,
I
think
would
it
rather
depends
die.
on
You said
that.
man or bear. You picked the bear. No,
I
don't
picked
pick
the
bear?
man. I picked the man. I could
I'm not
choke out a
answering
man.
this
I can't choke
dumb
out a
Oh, we
bear.
might have to go to bear or man question.
Like straight.
Oopsies.
Yeah, I think you
Yeah,
have
well,
to.
we can.
let's go man or bear because
we'll-
now I'm upset.
we'll-
Guys,
we'll
you can
reel
put a
in the
man in a
bear.
chokehold, not a bear. Like
Well,
you're gonna lose.
I'm not putting any man in a chokehold.
If you need, I'm just saying if you needed to. Like I would pick the man.
No,
Hopefully he's a
no.
regular
What
person
bear,
and
what
doesn't want to.
man?
A regular
Silly
bear.
question.
Bear, worst man in the world. Let's go.
A,
Circle,
a,
right?
worst man
a
and
regular
worst bear?
man will
No, I
dominate
think it's worst
me.
man, best bear.
Worst man, worst bear. Both of those.
I like
Which one are you
bears. They're
picking?
cute.
I
They're
don't even know.
cuddly.
I
They're
don't think
Well,
they're
the
friends.
cuddly.
question is who's the primary victim? So it's not that the women
bear.
aren't victims.
Everyone's
They're
a victim of war.
secondary victims.
Yeah.
So the
Right.
primary would be the first person who's the victim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Draft
and
me.
The women would be
Draft
the second
me.
because they're the
issue
second.
is because what she's trying to explain is like in her head, when you're dead, you're gone, your suffering is over. Whereas like the women
Okay.
of these countries, but that's,
Lost their
we can disagree
families,
on
their
this. We
children
can go
that
back
have
circles
Yeah.
and
But
circles
here's
and
the thing.
circles. There's no
Here's the thing.
agreement on that.
Not all of them die in war. A lot of them walk away with trauma. They had to deal with a
PTSD,
lot
it still
of
fucks up your whole
PTSD,
family.
For sure. And I mean, yes, the women and the children are back home and suffering because their father or their husband is out in war, so they've lost their father or husband, but that father, husband, that man has lost his wife and his kids and his friends and his family to go out into war to get traumatized. And so even if he doesn't die, I would still say that that's PTSD, and you have to leave your family as well. You have your whole life back at home to fight in a war. That makes you a pretty primary victim.
and just to like
I don't disagree with you.
I think it's
I'm
still
just saying
men.
we disagree on the.
I think we shouldn't discount
definition.
women's suffering, though.
well we're not.
Yeah.
We're
We're
saying
not.
In
we're-
war.
But
don't
the
think-
women
Yeah.
the women don't become victims until the men are the victims. So like they're not even
Yeah.
considered victims
Well,
until
no, no,
something
no.
happens to the man.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Even
We have to
just
protect the
getting, even your
fatherless and the
husband,
widows.
even your son just getting drafted is horrible.
Yeah, of course.
That would totally fuck
But
me
your
up.
son
But
would
I
have
would-
to be drafted.
Yeah, but which
But
one's
you're
worse?
the son. Getting drafted, that would suck.
It
Drafted versus
depends.
what?
Maybe he loves the idea. He watched Top Gun last week and he's like, I'm ready to go.
Of course, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but the exception doesn't make the rule. It's generally men and generally women who's the primary victim.
Wait, hold on. You said drafted though. So if he was
Yeah,
that
so they're
gung ho,
first.
he would have volunteered, not been drafted.
Yeah.
I mean, but even he could have just watched Top Gun last week and been hyped. So
I don't know what Top Gun you're watching, but
went to war.
You didn't watch Top Gun? You wasn't into that?
I haven't. I don't think it's the same one you watched.
Okay.
I watched it and it
So
was good.
can you make your case for
a good
how
one.
women are the primary
Well,
victims
we
of war?
can. You keep making this case with Ukraine and Russia. There, statistics online is 53% of the people assaulted is actually women and girls, right? So there is a statistic online explaining
Wait,
is
53, so half.
over
Over
so
half.
53% is over half.
You literally, okay, yeah, cool.
That means the other
so that
47% is
that one metric, that 3% increment,
Yes.
that's your basis for, at least in the Ukraine conflict.
Well, I gave you a basis. You asked me what's my argument, and I
Nick,
just
could you Google that? I
Well,
will
hold on,
fact
because
check
when
it.
you talk about the
right now, 'cause
Ukraine,
I looked it up before this podcast.
When you-
but keep
Okay.
bringing up the Ukraine argument.
when you talk about the Ukraine conflict, you show a bunch of like girls on Tinder with their ass out, and then a bunch of like dead men, and it's like, well, it doesn't exactly work that way.
It,
It kind of does.
literally
To
does.
Brian's point, it does, but it doesn't at the same time.
And
So
that's what I mean.
60,000 women are actually fighting the lines, right? But there's 3.2 million women in Ukraine. So they allow this, but there is gender biased assault on women a lot of times in the invading country of
Yes,
Russia.
of
And
course
that's
there's
why
gender biased assault on
53%
women.
of the assaulted women are, or 53% of people in Ukraine are women and girls. That's the
Yeah,
whole point, and that's
that's what
my
I mean.
basis. It's not like
Like, obviously, there's women on Tinder and there's men dead in the ditch, but there's also women dead in the ditch and men on Tinder. It's just
I would say one of the things to consider, I think I saw this on another one. I don't remember what the percentage was, but we're not considering that not all men that go to war are married or have like anybody to be victims back home.
No, well,
I
hold
was
on.
gonna
You don't
say,
need to be
the ultimate
married.
price you're
Hold
paying
on.
is with your life.
Hold on. You don't need to be married to have victims back home. There's still like your brothers and your sisters and your parents and your siblings. And
Friends,
if you're,
family. Yeah, but
you can have kids.
they
that
don't
don't
become
become
okay, but
victims.
I'll even argue, even if the man is married, even if he's married, and he has 5 daughters, even if he's married, has 5 daughters, doesn't have a father, has a mother, and has a dozen sisters, the man is still the primary victim of war,
Yeah.
even with all this collateral mental harm to like a group of 20 women. The man is still the primary victim of war. Nick, can you pull up did you find her thing?
I guess why are we trying to like say who has it worse?
An analysis of Ukrainian refugee women, same in the Czech Republic. That's where I saw the 53.
They were getting attacked in a different country. Can you pull it up?
She said assaulted, so I don't think this is something we want.
But it's can you just drag it over so I can see it?
I guess why are we trying to play the my hurt is worse than your hurt kind of game? What was
That's
the
my whole point from the
What is the point
original
of-
argument.
No,
the
that's
first
what
day
she's
this was
saying.
brought up. I
That's
said
what she's saying.
I don't think we should pick which
Yeah.
is the worst
'Cause,
victim.
like, they
They're
both
both
suck.
victims.
Well, she
I
tried
said,
to say
the planet
both.
Earth is the victims. Like this is
Yeah.
Click it.
She tried to say both, and they're like, no, you have to pick. And she's like, well, I'm going to go with women.
That's not
no,
a,
you want me
a
to say
study I was
men.
talking about.
So they just kept pushing her.
She wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted
Ruffle
to
some
say
feathers.
Yeah. Of course.
Not
well,
necessarily, but I
It
just
just
think everyone's a
depends how
victim.
But it
do you
doesn't
define
take away like the plight of women like you do when there's no men to protect you, like the good ones who are going out and trying to fight for, freedoms and stuff.
I
Like
mean,
there's no
there's-
one to protect you against the oppressor.
I mean, there's no one to protect men against the
Yeah.
oppressor, like on the front lines.
Yeah,
like
that's
that's
fine. We
obviously
can
f***ing
pull
horrid.
this
Like,
up.
Again, you
Yeah.
can make a class.
Sorry, I
can
keep
make a class
swearing.
argument.
could.
So that's
You
the
could.
whole thing with like, men are the one who initiate wars, but then men are the only ones able to like go to war and things like
Yeah.
that. But then that's a class claim. It's not a gender claim. It's a class claim.
a class claim.
Yeah,
What?
like a class claim, as in like it's based off of.
I also sent you something in private chat, Nick.
It's like based off of.
Here, we'll pull your study up.
Is this mine?
Is this?
It's another one that I found. but
are
we're
you
gonna-
saying only poor men have to go to war?
Well, when I say
Class
it's
study.
a class claim,
Yep,
it's like
go ahead. Oh no, they're just prattling
What's the
about
song
something.
by,
I don't know.
No,
CCR?
that's not the.
I'm no
I told you
senator's
that's not the
son.
study that I was talking
This is
about.
literally
has
the
the
one
same
that had the
percentage.
53%.
There was another one I had, but
From-
this one is not it.
What's your study then? We'll
I
literally
don't
pull
know
up.
the website, but
Tell us what's a Google then. Give us the prompt and we'll find it.
So what I looked up is Ukraine women, and then I looked up like Ukraine women and.
So why is
It's
that?
on my computer, I swear to God.
I'm literally allowing you to pull up your own
OnlyFans?
study.
Women.
Because
You
I
guys
looked
don't
up a
look
lot
up
because I was.
Okay, well fine. We'll go to mine, then we can go to yours. Nick, pull this one up. Make it bigger. By the way, this is from the Women's Refugee Commission, so it's already going to be biased towards women. As of February 2023, okay, so this is like old. This is old, but anyways, has displaced more than 14 million
all
people.
of them are from
Stop.
2023. Sorry.
Don't interrupt me. More than 8 million Ukrainians are now refugees. Hold on, where is it? Where is it about the percentage? Does it have percentage for women? It was like 90% or something. One sec. Oh, what? It
Gender-based
showed it in the fucking thing.
It says many displaced Ukrainian women are particularly vulnerable because they are pregnant or have small children.
Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can.
So, or have a disability or a victim of violence. So most of the women that left aren't actually doing very good.
Nick, I'm sending you a different one. This one's even more biased
And they pulled it off the screen.
towards women. It's the UN Women, which has a UN is major cucked. UN Women's
Let's
even
find
worse.
a-
It's a
let's find a
feminist
study that-
organization.
Fits our narrative.
It's literally not fitting my narrative.
No, I just like to. I like to make jokes. Sorry.
Okay, make it bigger. Okay, as of this is 5.5 million refugees have already fled Ukraine. Of those who have fled the country, it's estimated that 90% are women and children.
Right, in
While
the-
most men aged 18 to 60, this is from a feminist source, by the way, are required to stay behind under martial law.
It did also say in the last study that most of the women that left were pregnant or had children or were disabled or had already been assaulted.
What?
That's literally what it just said in the last study. I read it out
You're
loud.
telling me the women who are going to the western border
That-
and
I
the
just read it
invasion
out
is in the
loud.
east?
I
Most
just
of the women are coming. What?
I just read the last study out loud. That's what it said. What can I say, brother? What can I say?
we say player.
The majority of the women who have
That's
fled
what
the
it
country
said.
are disabled?
That's what it said. Literally, go back to no. It literally said they were pregnant, or they had children, or they were disabled, or they had already been victimized by the war. That's literally what it said in the very last study you were on. I read it out loud. Am I wrong or am I right?
I don't know, dude.
I literally just read it out loud. I
read
swear
on
to
stream the other
God.
day the
It
thing
said
I was
many
talking about.
displaced Ukrainian women are particularly vulnerable because they are pregnant or have small children, have a
Okay, so maybe
have
not
a
the
disability
many.
or are a victim.
So maybe
of
not the majority.
violence.
We can throw the majority out the window, but a lot
Many
of
displaced.
yeah. So we'll throw the majority out the window. I'll take that part. But
Literally everyone in Ukraine is a victim of violence. They're in a fucking war.
so the
This doesn't
majority,
mean
baby. I'm
anything.
still right.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything.
No, okay, it's fine. It doesn't have to mean anything.
It
Sorry.
literally means nothing. In
Sorry.
any case, so
So who's
You're
on
good.
Hinge?
I just like to mess around. My bad.
okay, so you think in the Ukraine conflict that women are the primary victims of war? Why?
I can send you the article because I have the history on her computer.
How about I just grant you that you said what 53%?
Yes.
I'll just grant you the
Sure.
statistic. Okay, so then 47%.
Sure.
Now, if I gave you a
those
statistic that
boys
like
and men.
95% of the military casualties, so deaths and injuries, are men, which one's worse?
Well, sure. You could, and again, the statistics you give, right there.
You
yes.
disagree? You think? I don't know the exact numbers, but I would assume that 95% of the military casualties are men.
I think it's 97% since the Gulf War. Allegedly.
Well, you can give in the statistics of what you're giving me, the framework of what you're giving me. Sure, men are the victims.
Wait, oh my